Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report, introducing a new company to all of you, EMP Metals. Company is focused in Saskatchewan. It's a lithium play. This company has a couple projects that have resources on them and one that is already at the PEA stage. I am chatting right now with Paul Schubach, Chief Operating Officer at EMP Metals. EMP Metals is traded on the CSE under the symbol EMPS and the OTCQB under the symbol EMPF. Now, Paul, let's start off with more the big picture overview of how this company came together and the focus in Saskatchewan on lithium assets. Please take us through more the creation of this company, please.
Yeah, so Rock Resources was the initial party that recognized the opportunity. There's some initial exploratory work going on in Saskatchewan for lithium specifically. And with the familiarity of rock in the southern part of the province, they really identified that opportunity and were looking for a financial partner to bring in the capital required to acquire some land, mineral title, and do some initial exploratory drilling. So the introduction there was really Rock got introduced to EMP, and EMP was the financial backer for some of the initial exploratory work happening in the province here.
Okay, let's get right into the projects. Company has the Mansur project as well as the Viewfield property. Let's start with the Viewfield property because it does have a resource out. There is a PEA that was already announced, and there was some drilling already happening this year. It's a bit more of a focus for the company this year. Give us a bit of an overview here on that Viewfield property, tying in that resource and PEA, please.
Yeah, so again, Viewfield is going to be our main focus here in the short term. We do have other properties at Mansur, like you mentioned. We also have another property to the north called Taiwan. So in total, we have over 200,000 acres of land. Specifically with regards to the PEA focused on the Viewfield area, this really only represents about 14% of our total land holdings. And again, our focus in on Viewfield is really due to the good initial drilling results that we had at a few locations. So we've got 2 wells that have tested the highest lithium brine concentrations in Canada to date. So again, that is really our focus area at this point. We just finished up our summer drilling program where we did another vertical test well to test brine composition at the northern part of the Viewfield property, as well as a horizontal well at our 4 of 23 location that we're looking forward to flow testing to really prove out and get some data collection on the brine deliverability and pressure monitoring for us to do some more detailed work on the subsurface modeling.
Can you give us some more insights on the concentration, more kind of the grade as resource investors would view it? How that grade compares to some other assets, just because it is pretty high consideration, really, for any resource company, but especially in the brine area, lithium brine area here, when you get into that DLE.
Yeah, correct. And so the subsurface is really split into some distinct zones and layers. So each layer of the Dupero that we're targeting has a specific concentration associated with it. And so we've tested one of the zones upwards of 259 milligrams per liter. That again is at our 4 of 23 location. And so when we look at the overall net pay of the project, we're at an average of 143 milligrams per liter across our land base. So that would be the average brine concentration we have available to us to work with. And in comparison, when you look at some of the other projects within Canada, we're roughly double some of those other concentrations that have been or are available to see in the public realm. Another key part of Saskatchewan specifically is the absence of any H2S or oil. We've got really low organics to begin with, so the amount of pretreatment required for this brine to get into DLE is very minimal on the front end, and again just results in lower capex, lower opex as a result of this clean brine as well as high concentration. One other thing to note too is just drilling depths in general. So we're at about 1,800 meters, relatively shallow in comparison to some of the other projects too within Canada and North America for that matter.
Let's also talk about how you're moving this project forward then. You have the resource, you have a PEA. What is the work that you're going to do here? Can you grow the resource? Is it simply converting and upgrading what you have in the resource from inferred into higher categories? Or do you go through further economic studies once you upgrade that resource?
Yeah, and we're actively right now with the drilling program looking to upgrade that resource as part of that program. So we got a combination of things. We're also just finished up here this summer running a field pilot. So the pilot studies, we've got two that have been completed, one with Koch Technologies and another one late last year with ESM or the Iliad technology. So we've got two data sets to look at and I guess de-risking of the DLE tech in general with those programs. As we move forward here with some of the horizontal specifically, we'll be doing some more detailed flow testing here in the coming weeks and months where we'll look to de-risk the subsurface even further. Currently in progress too, we have a front-end engineering and design study underway for all of the refining equipment, which should lead us towards a CapEx and OpEx of plus or minus 15% to tighten up those PEA numbers that were released earlier this year. So with all that combined, I mean, we're actively de-risking a number of steps with this project. And then the next steps are either to look at consideration of a larger demonstration facility or move into some commercial production with a commercial facility with some meaningful production.
So this is a key distinction between, I think, all lithium companies. One that I always outline to our listeners is one, companies either are building resources and focused on their asset, or the other side being trying to build out their own DLE technology. This company, EMP, is very focused on the project that you have or the couple assets that you have here and using other DLE technology more in terms of being able to choose whichever one works better through these tests and pilot plants, right?
Yeah, correct. And I think that was a decision that was made early on here is that we do not want to be a tech supplier. We don't want to design and build our own tech. We really leveraged who we feel are some of the top DLE providers, being both Koch and ESM here to provide that technology to us to evaluate. And then again, we'll continue to evaluate others as this project expands if there's new tech that is coming out. But we feel we've got two of the top DLE providers currently that we're working with and ultimately are working towards finalizing a decision here in the next weeks, months to establish who that DLE provider is going to be so we can continue with our detailed engineering work.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. When do you need to lock in what sort of DLE technology you need? But we'll follow up with you as I guess you keep running through some of these tests. Can we get an update on that Mansur project as well? This has an inferred resource. It's a smaller resource than the Viewfield property, around the same concentration grade-wise that we're seeing, slightly larger actually. What's going on at that Mansur project?
Yeah, so Mansur, again, we've taken over some older oil and gas wells that we did some initial concentration work. There's a few wells that were through the Duperow, our target zone. So we acquired those to do some of the initial brine testing. They're more at the northern part of that property. So we do have some initial plans to do a vertical test well on the southern part of that property. Just unsure as to when we're going to have that scheduled and budgeted. Just looking forward here, we do anticipate in the short term to look at that as a potential option for us.
Okay, let's get into the background on team members. First of all, you're the chief operating officer. Give us a little background on yourself and also the president and CEO, Rob Gamley.
Yeah, so myself, again, I joined EMP late last year. And again, the opportunity was right for me personally. I think this is a very up and coming, unique space. Call it a great opportunity to be pioneering a new industry within Canada and could have a major impact on the energy transition that we have currently underway. So for myself specifically, I spent over a decade working at one of the world's largest potash solution mine. So very similar in nature in terms of processing saturated brines and extracting minerals. So I worked in Saskatchewan here at a facility in Belle Plaine, Saskatchewan. Variety of roles throughout that facility, spanning capital projects, process engineering through a number of different areas of the refinery, as well as maintenance and reliability and managing the condition-based monitoring program on the site for 2 years on the tail end. So again, opportunity was right to come on to EMP and provide some technical support, both on the refining side. And then again, we still have that relationship with Rock Resources, who's under management agreement to continue to support all of our geo work and subsurface work, as well as a lot of the field related activities. Again, their presence in the province here has already shown value as we work through different piloting programs in the field and drilling, just with the relationships that they have through their 30-year history here working in Saskatchewan. Yeah, that's a little bit of background about those guys there.
Now let's talk share structure, because look, the company is still relatively new here. We have shares outstanding right around 91 million on a fully diluted basis, 127 million. There's quite the allocation here between formational group, brokers, retail only stands at about 12%, Tembo Capital about 19, about 20% actually. Take us through how much money the company actually has still in the bank to continue to move everything forward, and the allocation of these shares in the market.
Yeah, so in terms of capital available today, I mean, we have capital to get us through the remainder of our drilling programs and flow testing programs. We'll be looking to do a raise later this fall to help continue with our 2025 budget plan. So we're really focusing based on some of the results here that we get from our summer drilling, what that raise is going to look like. We do have some key shareholders in, again, Tembo Capital that you mentioned at around 20% ownership. They've been a fantastic shareholder for us and are present in all aspects of the mining cycle. So again, they're continuing to support us through the development and will continue to support us in the near future. As for, again, Rock Resources, they are also now another major shareholder of EMP as we acquired their interest in the Hub City joint venture. So Rock is now upwards of 18% ownership of EMP. So they've, rather than a management contract and management fees, they've elected to take stock here over the next 12 months, which I think, again, just shows they see the value in continuing to support this project and continuing to advance it. As for some of the other formational groups, again, those are some of the initial shareholders of the company, and again, other key shareholders here. So relatively small retail holdings at this point. And again, a lot of shareholders that are in this company for the long term and see the value.
All right, Paul, let's wrap it up here just with a final comment from you here. Again, the focus on the Viewfield property more this year, upgrading the resource. This is what seems like at least a higher grade lithium resource in Canada. What are some of the selling points that you want to leave our listeners with for the company?
Yeah, I mean, concentration is obviously a big one there, upwards of 259 milligrams per liter found within the Viewfield area. The cleanliness of the brine, as well as we continue to go through different piloting programs and conversion into a battery grade materials, the feedback we're getting from those vendors is that this is among the cleanest brine that they've seen in terms of other contaminants that need to be taken out either pre-DLE or then even post-DLE to get to an efficient refining process. I think those factors combined with geographically where we are located here in Saskatchewan, we've got a great jurisdiction, good government support with some recent critical mineral programs that have been announced for some royalty tax credit funding that we are actively working towards applying for. And then when you look at, again, the infrastructure that we have to build this project, the Bakken oil field, we're right in the heart of it, which has a 50-year oil and gas operating history in the southeast part of Saskatchewan. So good access to paved highways, rail and rail loading facilities, good grid road infrastructure, familiarity with the farmers in the area for surface lease and mineral leases. and as well as access to labor with some city centers of Weyburn, Estevan, and Stoughton within a 30-minute drive of our proposed site for the first commercial facility. So I think all those things make us extremely competitive on even a global landscape and really set us up to have a successful project here in Saskatchewan at our Viewfield property.
All right, Paul. Thank you very much for this overview of EMP Metals. Again, Paul Schubach, Chief Operating Officer at EMP Metals. I will post a link to the company's website in the show notes. Please, everyone, click that link, go to the company's website, read over the company's presentation, get more information on the resources, the PEA, and some of the field tests that have happened on these assets. Send me any questions that you have for Paul, and I will get him back on the show as more news comes out of the company. Paul, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Corey.